Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. In this game, I'm playing as a cost control specialist, and I am playing against Appa as a specialist. Right out the gate, we have sledgehammers against stormcallers. Usually a very tricky composition to play, as you want to position your tanks so that they don't stop and shoot before the first volley of stormcallers land. Otherwise, the stormcaller is going to get a lot of value. The Stonecaller can actually kill a pack of tanks if the tank stands still for about 2 to 3 volleys. So one tip to playing against the Stonecaller is you want to make sure they waste as many of their volleys as possible. So you can use crawlers to kind of bait the first volley out. You can make sure that your tank are positioned far back enough, or maybe even a little forward. That's a little tricky because sometimes when your tanks are moving, they can dodge most of the shots. In this case, I went with the third option. I just decided, you know what? If you're playing Stonecaller Arclights, there's a very good chance that you're going to add crawlers into your first round, which means I am just going to go with wasps. You're not going to have any anti-air, so I'm going to go with the wasp. I don't care if you kill everything on the ground. I still win the round. All right. Wow. Very quick unit cards. Wraith is excellent against Wasp. Typhoons, excellent against Wasps. So I wanted something a little bit different. My opponent did choose Typhoon, which is excellent. I was hoping they would put a Typhoon on one side and not buy another on the other side. So as a result of that, I did end up putting a squad of Wasp here on the flank, hoping that I was able to exploit that missing Typhoon. But too bad that my opponent actually did Typhoons on the other side, which means the Wasp that's going to appear here any second now is going to be a complete waste. I end up picking the Rhino because I don't believe my opponent has enough damage output in this round to deal with the Rhino effectively. So maybe my Rhino can do some work while tanking for my squad of Wasps. My right side got absolutely destroyed by these Typhoons, and I continue to work on the rest of my units. Now, fortunately, I did get a debuff, so with any luck, I should still be able to take this round. Extended range sledgehammer was offered. I think this is probably the best card of this pack here. None of the other cards really appeal to me. Extended range sledgehammer allows you to go full carry sledgehammers. It doesn't even matter if they have scorpions because of the extended range. Once you get range and mech rage, you're outranging the scorpion by a lot. So yeah, so that was the card. The game plan was at some point I want to level up my tanks. I want to go carry sledgehammers. They're great against both chaff if you have enough of them, but also they have great damage against medium to large units. My opponent decided to skip this round, which makes sense. I think none of the cards is really useful for him. Maybe the mobile beacon, but then he'll have to figure something to mobile beacon with. He did end up going with 2 scorpions. So the scorpions are a direct counter to the sledgehammers, but with extended range, I'm actually able to shoot the scorpions for a while. So right now I'm 165 meters, and the scorpion is only at 100 meters. So I gotta shoot him for a very long time before the scorpions can even get close. Now the scorpion, they do counter my rhino, which means I have no more tank in front of my wasp, which then in turn gets destroyed by the typhoons. So this is kind of creating a chain effect here. So without the rhino, I lose my wasp. Without the wasp, I don't have any good damage on this side of the board, and they simply move towards my tank and get rid of me. So things are becoming a little problematic. And not to mention that I wanted to go with carry sledgehammers. In order for you to go carry sledgehammers, your sledgehammers have to level. So if they keep killing my sledgehammers before they get leveled, it's going to be a bit of a problem. So I think my plan for the next round is pretty clear. I'm going to chaff up. All right, a bunch of interesting cards. Missile Device is interesting. Missile Device is one of those cards that aren't getting picked a lot, but they're so useful. So for example, your missile does an average of 5,000 damage. Missile Device grants you another 200. So that's on top of your existing 5,000 damage, bringing your total damage up to 15,000. 15,000 damage is enough to kill most of these medium-sized units, right? Even with a Typhoon, it's only 10,000 HP on these really tanky Typhoons. A single missile can kill that. Scorpions, 19,000 damage. A single missile will bring it down to 5,000. So even with the missile, it is a very powerful tool. So you can watch this missile go right now. Boom. The Scorpion is down to just a few shots away from being destroyed by my tanks. Right? So very powerful card. I did chaff up just a little bit, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. My opponent did also pick up the homing missiles for the Typhoons, making them even better at chaff clear. These missiles actually shoot up to 180 meters, so they can actually hit my chaff further than an actual marksman. It's insane. Tower debuff. Can I get one more? Yeah, gets one more Stonecaller, which means more experience for that sledgehammer. All right, early unit drop cards on round 5. Few interesting options. I think Sandworm makes a lot of sense for me. Vulcan's bad because it would just die to Scorpions once they get leveled and range. Wraith is not great because I'll be running into a bunch of Typhoons and they can just get Mech Rage or they can get anti-air. Phoenix is not terrible, especially with this level. So level 4 Phoenix is actually going to be pretty good because it allows me to pick off these Scorpions a little bit easier. But the thing is, I already are currently pretty committed to the carry sledgehammers. And they're going to be the primary damage dealer. And they do a lot of damage. So why go with another unit that essentially fill the role of these sledgehammers? What I really needed is something that my board is lacking, which is chaff and tankiness. So I think the Sand Warrior was the best choice to solve that particular problem. And to make it even more tanky, I added the Replicate first. Now, I could have added a Sandstorm first, but there is a bit of a downside with Sandstorm, and that is your Sandstorm, if you have ground carry units, your Sandstorm is often stopping your ground carry units or affecting your ground carry units because just how, the way that your opponent's chaffs are placed. And you'll see in the later rounds when I did pick up Sandstorm how my sledgehammers just get pulled in. But I'm not too worried at that point because my units would have been high enough level and my Sandworm will be drawing most of the aggro from the Scorpions. So Replicate was an easy first choice for me. Allows the Sandworm to be more tanky. It allows my sledgehammers to fire a little bit longer. And if it kept going in and out of the ground, it would just keep producing those larvae. And it's getting more value every time. So right now I got 3 larvae and just drawing a lot of fire from my opponent. Okay. So my opponent is still pretty dangerous. Haste module gets picked up for me. It might be the haste module for my opponent as well. I don't really see any other cards that's particularly useful. Maybe heavy armor on top of a Scorpion. I needed a haste module because I needed more damage output in the form of my sledgehammers. Last round, I was winning pretty hard on my right-hand side, but I was not doing too well on my left-hand side. And if you're looking at how much damage the unit did, I think the Scorpion in the middle, the Typhoon in the middle, I think they both contributed a lot to the success of their defense on the left-hand side. All right, haste module was picked up by my opponent. I pick up Sandstorm, and I've decided to add even more Sandworms. I think Sandstorm with Replicate, with a number of Sandworm, is going to create a lot of problem for the enemy units to deal with. Last game, I think the Scorpions were the real MVP, but I don't think they're going to do as much damage. Now, curiously enough, my opponent picked up Siege Mode for his Scorpions. I think that was a mistake. Siege Mode halves the damage while increasing your range, but I don't know. I don't know if my opponent just don't want to hit my Sandworm, so they choose Siege Mode, or they just don't want to get affected by the Sandstorm, as right now they're shooting pretty comfortably from outside of the Sandstorm. But I don't agree with this decision at all. I think you're sacrificing way too much from your primary damage dealers. So as a result of that, I was able to win that round pretty convincingly. And with 4 Sandworms on the board, that was a huge chunk of health missing from my opponent. All right, unit cards again. Enhancement module on a Sandworm, pretty darn good. So I took that, level up my Sandworm. My opponent needed a way to answer my worms, but it is a bit tougher now because not only I have Replicate, I also have Sandstorm, which reduces damage taken by 30%. And in the recent patch, they also buff the larva. I think larva is now 30%, or almost maybe 40%. Somebody can check the notes. Beefier than before, allowing them to tank for a lot longer. So these steel balls, yes, they're double tech, but they're not going to be able to lock onto the Sandworm. And with the range tech, is actually, you're just going to be drawn to the Sandworm once I pop out of the ground. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the greatest use of the resource. On my side, I just wanted to seal the deal, and I figured, okay, now I have the worms. They're going to pop up. They're going to draw all the aggro, including these typhoons. What do I need? Well, I need damage. What's a great source of damage outside of the sledgehammers? Let's get ground spec wasp. Once the typhoons are gone, everything else would just die. Gets the tower, and with that, the rest of the game. All right, I hope we enjoyed this game, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.